Picasso once said, "Just because I don't speak English doesn't mean the English language doesn't exist." The analogy, of course, is that art is a language too, and if we want to understand it, we need to learn to speak it. Abstract art, also called non-objective art because it has no recognizable objects in it, is more difficult to learn than representational art, also called figurative art because it has recognizable figures in it. But you might be surprised to learn that both are actually speaking the same language. We've already seen that the vocabulary of art includes subject, what it's about, content, the theme or interpretation, and artistic form, the arrangement of the parts so as to bring the theme to our attention. So let's use this simple language to compare a representational painting with an abstract painting and see what they're trying to tell us. You probably agree that this painting is ecstatic, kind of intoxicating, a celebration of the wonders of nature, full of reverence for the power and the glory of the universe. But how are these sentiments communicated to us? Well, notice which elements are most prominent. For example, the swirling, flickering forms. Stars are whirling and exploding, blazing and heaving. Two of them seem to be locked in a swirling embrace. The moon is coming out of an eclipse. The cypress tree moves with them, leaps up like a flame toward the heavens, mimicking the rhythms of the sky with its black, flame-like silhouette. It kind of rises back and forth. We might say that the turbulence of the heavens is joined to the earth through the intermediary of the tree, so that a dynamic current of energy flows through everything. Ironically, a quiet little village seems to be unaware of this cosmic drama, or at least seems to be sleeping peacefully under the protection of the church. Once again, he uses color to achieve intense emotional effects. Deep purple sky, the yellow light of the stars, the dark greens and the reddish browns of the flickering tree, all these help convey the intensity of his vision. Notice that Van Gogh uses broken colors, breaks his colors up into the same kind of choppy brushstrokes that the previous Impressionists used. Paint is applied thickly, only here the swirling lines of broken colors reveal an inner ecstatic vision, not just the external atmosphere that the Impressionists were after. And what is that vision? Vincent felt a sense of awe, a religious reverence for the wonders of nature. And he's trying to communicate that religious feeling to us, that reverence for nature, that sense of unity and harmony and the oneness of all things. To put it in terms of our language of subject, form, and content, the subject, obviously, is a landscape, a quiet little village at night. The forms, which are arranged to speak to us, include swirling lines, flickering shapes, explosive colors, stars locked in a cosmic embrace, a tree reaching up to share in the excitement of the heavens. This arrangement of parts is almost shouting at us, trying to communicate a larger message. And that larger message, of course, we call the content. And here, surely, it's a sense of reverence and awe before the power and glory of the universe, a sense of the oneness and harmony and unity of all things. Okay, what about this composition by Pete Mondrian? What do we see? Well, lines, colors, shapes. The shapes make rectangles. And remember, we call these lines, colors, and shapes sensa, They have been abstracted from or taken away from objects in the real world. Do the rectangles contain the colors? The blue, for example, is it confined within a single shape, or does it seem to spill out into the adjacent rectangles? Are the black lines like edges or borders on the inside of which are the colors? If those lines make shapes, rectangles, and if the colors are simply inside those shapes, those rectangles, then that makes the lines and the rectangles more important than the colors, because then the colors would be dominated by the shapes that have captured and contained them. But aren't the lines and shapes and colors all on a kind of equal footing? In other words, the question is, do the lines surround the colors, and therefore the lines would dominate the colors? Or do the lines just sort of move through the colors, and therefore the lines and color are of equal status? Notice the end of the lines in the corners. They hang over the edge just slightly. This keeps us from feeling like the lines enclose the colors. Now, normally when you place a red color next to a blue color, it usually seems like the red shape leaps out at us, and usually the blue seems to fade into the background. But is that what happens in the Mondrian painting? Or perhaps all the colors seem to have an equal status? The red doesn't gang up on the others. The blue doesn't shy away from us. Even the gray color can hold its own against the others. In other words, hasn't the artist brought both the lines and the colors under complete control? Hasn't he achieved a kind of dynamic balance, a total unity between all the parts being the lines, the shapes, the colors? Isn't everything precisely in place and held firmly in place under just the right tension? When we participate with this painting, is it fair to use such terms as balance, unity, harmony, control? Isn't Mondrian interpreting these lines and colors in such a way as to convey to us a world that is clear and precise, simple and serene, regular and orderly, balanced and harmonious? If that's the case, then the arrangement of the parts, the lines, the shapes, the colors, is such as to bring to our attention a content, a larger theme. And that content has to do with the abstract idea of perfect balance, perfect unity, perfect harmony, perfect control. In other words, irregular sizes and shapes have been brought under control. And now that we think about it, isn't the content of this painting very similar to the content of Starry Night? Aren't both trying to get across the theme of the oneness and the unity and the harmony of all things? The subject is different, of course. The representational painting was a portrait of nature, and this abstract painting is nothing but lines and shapes. But in each case, the form works to bring out a similar content. And that content really is a religious content. Religious in the sense of an underlying unity and a harmony which binds all things together. Mondrian is trying to find a universal language to express a universal truth. The language he comes up with are three primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, three primary values or tones, black, white, gray, and two primary directions, vertical and horizontal. This is his formal language of art, the vocabulary of art in its simplest, purest form. And by manipulating that language, those pure formal elements of art, into arrangements or compositions that exhibit perfect balance, perfect harmony, perfect unity, he is expressing a universal truth. And what, once again, is that universal truth? The suggestion that below the surface of ordinary reality is a spiritual reality, that beyond all the chaos in the world, on the other side of the tension, the disharmony, the messiness, the inconsistencies, the tragedies, the frustrations, the imperfections, and all that, beyond all that is a transcendent reality, a world of essences, a spiritual dimension where all conflict is resolved, where impurities and imperfections are smoothed away, where all tensions and disharmonies are brought under control. This painting expresses that vision. So, lo and behold, these two vastly different paintings, Starry Night and Composition in red, blue, and yellow, are saying much the same thing to us. They are speaking the same language, just with different dialects.